Good evening, YouTube. Today it's a Saturday, snowy, as you can tell in the background there. I'm down by the river. Um, I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about a little more research and a little more scouting. Um, this week I learned that I did get permission to detect at one of the churches that I was wanting to get permission at. And they also told me that I'm trying to keep that light out of the shot, but it's a little hard. They also told me that previous to being a church, there was a one-room schoolhouse on the property. This tells me that maybe that would date back to 1850 if it was there for 15, 20 years. I'm not sure. So tonight, I want to take the opportunity to talk to you guys about doing some online research and looking back at things beyond what you can tell just by talking to people and stuff like that. That being said, the rest of this video is going to be some screenshots and voiceovers, just kind of explaining how I like to do that kind of research. So I hope you enjoy it, and for now, let's head back to the house and get started on it. Alright guys, let's start talking about reviewing history on a piece of property. The first thing I like to do is look at satellite imagery using Google Earth. As you can tell in this first clip, there's a square of trees that look more mature than the ones in the middle of it. I definitely want to look more at that both online and once I get to the site. On the second and third squares, I just highlighted kind of that house that I wasn't sure whether it belonged to the church or not, and a little open field behind it. So the next thing we're going to do is we'll look at GIS maps, which are Geographical Information System mapping, and you can get a ton of information from these maps. On your GIS mapping, you have a ton of features. It's very user-friendly, much like Google Earth. You can lay a layer of aerial down and see exactly what you saw on Google Earth. And then you get into some more detail about owner name, parcel number, and then the second thing you can do is usually there's a details section where you can click for more information about a parcel of land. And when you do that, you should see a screen that looks similar to this that has the township, the range, the section, and the quarter. That kind of information comes in handy when you start digging into history further, because that's the same way they've kept track of things for hundreds of years, and that's what it's identified as. You will also generally find out the age of the buildings on the property, which is very handy. With this particular site being a church, a lot of that information was not available, but it is when it's a residential site. Once you have that information regarding your township number, the section number, the quarter number, that kind of stuff, then you can really dive into history. I like to Google the state or the county's historical society or historical maps. There's a bunch of different ways to find these old maps. Generally speaking, mine come from a university that's both in Kansas and Wisconsin, and then you can really start narrowing down what you're looking at. The first map I found on this particular site was an 1896 township map, and as you can tell by the red square there, it's section 11, 1896, and it shows a church there. Then if we move on into further history, you'll see that I found an 1872 township map, and that shows no church there at all. That tells me the church was built somewhere between 1872 and 1896. As you can tell here on the 1872 map, there's no church. There is another little building over in the corner that I'm intrigued by, though. You'll see I highlighted it there with an arrow and says, "What is this?" I am going to save this image in a file about this site on my computer so that I can then go back and cross-reference that in the future. I'm not sure what it is, but we will find out. The next map I found was 1862. As you can tell, there's no church and that other building isn't there. I hope in the end that you guys will just really take this to heart and start looking at historical maps of your area and find out what it is you're looking at and really dive into it, because you can get a lot of information and learn a lot about the history of your area based on these old maps. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.